Just talking to Grubby, seeing if he's ready to go. Oh, he invited me. Cool. Oh. Alright guys, well, thanks for helping out, and of course you can see in here, you can enter the exclamation point Kyle or exclamation point bracket to get more information. RSVP1, by the way. Yeah, so the next match we're going to be going into is Grubby versus Sleet, and we will see this match coming up here. It is a PvZ, and this should be a pretty good match as well, and of course whoever wins this will move on to the finals. The prize pool is $100 for first place and $50 for second. So, I mean, not a bad day's work if you're a pro gamer out there making a little bit of money. And I told these guys to go ahead whenever they're ready, so I guess we'll just wait for them. Start managing my hundreds of windows I have open. Panic, 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 I can get it out in time. Okay. BM StarCraft. Didn't get all my stream link on there, but anyway. So, thanks for hanging out here, guys. Really appreciate all the support we're getting, and of course, this is all to benefit a friend of ours named Kyle, who was involved in a very serious car accident, who is going to be on a very long road to recovery throughout the next while. So this is aimed to try and raise money for his family, and try and take some stress off of the hard time they're going to be having. Somebody was asking for game 1 of the RSVP Revenge game. Check out on the links that the bot drops. Of course, it won't be that one specifically, but I think you can get back to my profile, and it should have all the games that I've casted today just on that profile. So yeah, check that out. So Grubby versus Sleet, the first map is King Sejong Station, as we can see here, which was the first map in our other matchup as well, so both semi-final matchups. So yeah, RSCP is in the finals, and we'll be making money here no matter what. And he's just awaiting the winner of this match, which is Grubby, the green Protoss spawning the bottom right, versus Sleet, the red Zerg in the top left. So yeah, it should be pretty cool, pretty interesting. We will just figure out what happens from this match forward. Grubby specifically is a very standard PvZ player, I have to say, but he has really good knowledge of the really deep late game. He's the type of player that will make things like carriers and tempests when the situation demands it, whereas a lot of players wouldn't do stuff like that. So if we get to that stage of the game, you can start to see some really interesting stuff come down. Grubby is from the Netherlands, if I'm remembering correctly. Somebody just asked that in chat, so... yeah, so jumping into what's going on here, we're not going to know a whole lot. The only thing we really know right now is just that it is going to be a gateway expand here out of Grubby. So it shouldn't be anything too intense for the time being. So yeah, gateway does come down. That's an unusually early gateway though. This is an 11 gate. This is going to signal some sort of unit aggression, such as maybe Stalker, Zealot, Mothership Core, something like that. Just to try and put some pressure on Sleet and see if he's able to deal with that without losing too much, or at least without letting his larva get dictated too much by having to produce units rather than drones. So yeah, this is definitely a very unusually early gate, and you're always going to know that, because even if you don't catch when it actually goes down, because the core is going to come up before the pylon at this rate, unless he just produces zealots off of this, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering he's going to double gas. So this is a build we don't see very often. Right after I say Grubby's a pretty standard PvZ player, he does something very non-standard. So as I was mentioning, the core is going to come down before the second pylon, and that's always a huge indicator, if you can ever scout that or at least know the timings, that this is a super early gate. This is another one of the reasons why I really like drone scouting, and this is 3 hatch before pool coming out of Sleet, and that's definitely not what you want against something that's going to be this aggressive. There's no Zealot on the way. This may just be like a 2 Stalker Mothership Core type of pressure, just so they can micro against the slow lings, and he should be able to micro this like all day, considering the gas is just now coming down, but the pool isn't even started yet. And if the pool is just barely starting by the time the core is finishing up, that's pretty much trouble. Oh, Grubby. You missed a pylon, sir. You are now supply blocked, and this pressure is now so much less potent because you're losing a lot of time on your stalker. So that's a big mistake. The other interesting thing is that this warp gate is obviously going to be a lot faster because of the 11 gate. So is this just going to be like a one base, straight up aggro, all in type of thing? I haven't seen anything like this for a really long time, but it's definitely possible considering the lack of Nexus and the lack of showing anything like that. There's no Mothership Core on the way either. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what's going to come of this, but still making probes, I guess, is kind of an indicator that he is going to eventually be taking an expansion, but still. Is he going to catch this Overlord? I think he eventually will be able to, unless the Overlord just flies straight down right now. Yeah, he might be able to get it away, but even still. The Stalker being out this fast has to be like, what? There's no expansion here as well, so Sleet has to be really weirded out. The fact that the Zergling speed is on the way and 10 Lings are on the way bodes really well for Sleet. So he's in pretty good shape, I think, actually. And yeah, this is just going to be a 4-gate. And you don't really see this very often anymore. Grubby has a pylon in a really weird place that Sleet has no idea about, but I think Sleet, seeing the lack of Nexus this late and Stalkers on the map this early, has to be like, what in the world is this? You'd swear he's playing Choya, but in fact, no, this is actually Grubby. Look at this positioning on the Overlord. LOL. That's the most scared Overlord of all time. Just sitting there, and there's nothing that can actually hit it right now, so Sleet getting really lucky. He would have been supply blocked even harder than he is right now had that happened. But the warp-ins are starting here for Grubby. Second pylon being produced to kind of hold this down. And this is really cool here out of Sleet. Sleet's going to put this game on a clock and say, you know what? You have no Mothership Core. You have nothing out back at your base. If he just goes straight in, then he's probably just going to end this game via the fact that Grubby won't be able to mine. And here we go. Zergling speed is done as well. All Sleet has to do is just hang on for the longest time. He might actually even want to put up a couple spine crawlers in his main here. But this should actually end the game in favor of Sleet at this rate. He definitely still needs to find a way to deal with the rest of this push that's coming out right now, though. Killing that probe is not that essential. He needs to just straight up turtle on one base and accept that he's killing basically every probe here. Really nice force field here out of Grubby to try and trap all these probes the best they can. But look at how few probes Grubby has. Only 8 workers. So if Sleet can just hold on and surround this army just once, even just keeping this one hatchery and not caring about the other ones, then he's going to win this game. The other weird thing is that Grubby does have a sentry, so he can block off the main ramp. But the Zerglings are coming back here, and here we go. If he just rallies everything down at once, which he definitely is, this should actually just end the game, especially if Grubby makes a mistake of killing that hatchery, which he doesn't so far. So every unit kill is enormous because Grubby can't refill his units nearly as fast as Sleet can. GG, Sleet takes game 1. What in the world was that? One base 4-gate, you never ever see anything like that. I at least haven't seen it for a long time, and I think the last player that did that was, it had to be somebody like Choya or somebody really random like that that just does weird all-ins like that. You never see stuff like that, so I don't know. Especially the fast Zergling speed was a really good response, and Sleet just said, alright, screw it. I'm just going to go straight in your main because you can't have units out on the map and have units back at home too, so that was interesting. Grubby's ready to go. He invited me straight into the next game and just said, go, go. Sleet said he needs 1 second. I'll drop you guys in the game as well. And of course, actually I'm just going to leave this other screen up for just a little bit longer so that people that have just come perhaps can see what's going on. This tournament is basically to benefit the family of a friend of ours who was in a really bad car accident, who's always been a really good supporter of the StarCraft 2 scene. We're trying to bring attention to that, and of course we do have somebody saying that he will match any donations that he gets from the tournament that we have raised throughout the tournament, and he will basically double that amount. So really cool of him to do that, and really cool of everyone here to support the stream and support the tournament. I would have had a Team Liquid link going with this as well, but I'm not a smart person. I listed the wrong time zone, so that messed everything up. I listed on Eastern European time, so... By the way, guys, I do have to say, I regret to inform you that I am on a stream delay here, so if you guys have real-time things you'd like to see in the game, I won't be able to see them until this has basically already ended. Like, somebody asked me to check the APM during that last game, and it's been over for almost 2 or 3 minutes now. So, sorry I can't report to that quickly enough. So this would be really interesting if we had a Sleet versus RSVP final here, considering the 2 big names in this bracket were Grubby and Revenge. So If Sleet's able to do this, then that will be pretty crazy, but this is, again, one of those maps where you'll see really weird stuff come down because the proximity of the thirds is just right next to each other. So you're going to see beyond strange stuff on this map, as long as those spawn positions exist. So we will see if Grubby does something weird like that. We also saw in a previous game that gateway timings are basically just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And look at this. There's actually cross maps on this map. So we're not seeing the close thirds on either side, but even still, the ability to get a third protected here for Grubby is really easy. So we won't see anything super weird, I don't think. But the last time I said that Grubby played standard, he did a 1 base 4 gate. So I guess I'll just withhold any sort of predictions from this, and we'll just have to see what happens as it comes up. Grubby looks like he wants to Forge Expand or Nexus first this time, rather than opening Gateway Expand. But you have to also wonder what that will kind of do to the psyche of Sleet. Number one, there's actually a lot of factors in this. The first factor is that if you win a big game off of somebody, you may get overconfident, you may get too timid. Everyone reacts totally differently. He may not be used to being in this position of being able to, take big games off of bigger players and kind of paint himself into a corner that way. And that can even happen to bigger name players. They can start to think, well, if I win, what does this mean? And then they kind of focus more on what happens if they win rather than just playing the game. So that's a possibility. Secondly, what did the opener from last game of Grubby do to harm what Sleet might do this game? So if this is cross-map 4 players, if Sleet goes pool first out of worry that Grubby was aggressive on 1 base last time, then Grubby could go Nexus first, and no, he's just going to Forge first against pool first. So Sleet's handling this pretty well. I have to say it's a little weird of Grubby to kind of force Sleet into a position of going pool first and then not Nexus first. But if he feels comfortable, or maybe he found a really good cannon rush spot on this map, which, again, these maps are brand new, so it's hard to figure stuff like that out right away. But this is going to open up in some type of cannon pressure, I have to say, considering Grubby is scouting out with an extra worker. At minimum, this extra worker would be to, yeah, here we go. This is going to be some cannon starting here. At minimum, this would be to make sure that there's not an early pool coming down, and he does just recall this probe. He's probably just going to send it right back over here just in case this one dies for whatever reason, which probably shouldn't. Sleet doesn't know about this yet. At least he knows now because the Overlord did move back over. And what's your response if you're Sleet? He does start to pull drones, but he's just going to wall this off. There's no way those drones should be able to get on there. And Grubby can just repile on that, yeah. Now Grubby can start a pylon here on the high ground and prevent anything from leaving this ramp. So we will have to see what his follow-up is to this, or he could just take a Nexus and just accept the fact that he has a small lead right now. Second cannon on the way. I would have to imagine a second cannon would come down eventually because one cannon isn't going to do the job. Where's he going? I don't know where. I guess he's checking for a third base. And now the cannon is a bit exposed. I don't know what to say. This is fairly unusual. I guess he is forcing out Zerglings right now. He does need to get his wall back up back at home, considering Sleet has the propensity to just say, screw it, I'm going straight for your main. Is Sleet going to cancel this? Or is he going to try to push the spine down there? The spine is way late. Second cannon comes up now, and Grubby's really licking his chops, considering he's in a great position now. You'd like to see him kind of constrict this a little more, otherwise a couple of Zerglings will get in and pass this cannon. What would be funny is if Grubby continued to build pylons right here and kind of funnel the Zerglings, but that's not looking like it's going to happen. Sleet kind of miscontrolling here, going to lose all of it but one Zergling, and that basically completely nullifies the whole effect of running in there. All of a sudden, Grubby is in an amazing position because Sleet can't stop this hatchery from dying. There's two useless spines that are basically not doing anything at this point. He's going to be reduced to one base, and there's no drones even out on the map. So I guess I should correct myself and say that there will be drones out on the map that can take extra bases, but even still, Grubby has an expansion done, and Sleet is still on one base. So this is really looking favorable for Grubby right now. This is also the reason why I was saying you could start putting cannons up here on the higher ground, because then the queen can hit it. What's this queen doing? The queen needs to stay on the high ground so he can hit the cannons. And is it going to die? Oh! 6 health on that queen. So that went from the most ignorant queen to the most lucky queen really quickly. 2 drones just walking past here. Sleet is making quite a few mistakes, I have to say. Losing an extra drone there to the cannon. He really should have lost that queen, to be totally honest. He got really fortunate that queen happened to live. But Grubby's just re-scouting up here. He needs to verify that this base is actually here. And he actually already saw that, so he's totally fine. But at the same time, Lonely, Spinecrawler here are going to start bleeding to death. At the same time, Grubby's at such a huge advantage. He can do almost whatever he wants from right now. And he just barely is putting up his core, but I think the follow-up from here, the best follow-up is probably going to be Stargate. Considering it's going to take Queens an eternity to get down here, we'll have to see what he wants to do. There are... I mean, there's really nothing... Yeah, the Stargate does come down here. I'm just going to say there's nothing really going on that's of note right now, but the Stargate starts. Is he going to lose this Spinecrawler as well to the cannon? Yes. That is really unfortunate. And maybe even could pick off this drone. And he's going to stop it! Oh, wow. These cannons did way, way more than they should have. And this puts Grubby in a great position. Not that he wasn't already in a great position before, but this is even better. Those cannons killed way more than they should have. They killed 2 drones, a spine, and almost killed this queen and killed this hatchery. So you can't ask for much more than that from 2 or 3 cannons. I don't remember if he ever let that 3rd cannon finish, but still, way, way more than he should have gotten from that. So... Lair's on the way. Roach Warren's hanging out here, just barely got finished. Sleet is in such a bad position right now that you almost have to wonder if just going for something really off the wall, like maybe a really fast Muta, would help out. But Grubby's playing this ultra safe. He's going for Phoenix and into the Robo, just like a standard build, and just accepting his economic lead, rather than trying to be super aggressive and continue to punish all the mistakes that Sleet has made so far. So a lot of stuff is rallying down right now. At least to the 3rd base. Grubby's still ahead in workers right now, 10 worker lead, and at this stage of the game, that is crushing, because if Grubby were to do any sort of like 2 base all in, which Sleet, I guess, is kind of verified that's not really coming, but let's say it was. If that was coming right now and Sleet was behind on workers trying to hold that off, there's no way he's going to hold that. So Grubby is just doing the safer thing. He's probably just going to explore out here and take a 3rd base, which he's doing right now. I don't know where the Zealot's going, just kind of walking around. I guess to kill these Zerglings, which I'm not sure how he knew they were over there, but either way, going to grab these Zerglings over here. One Zergling does get away, so one of the rare units being saved at this game so far. Cannon's just going to finish it off, though, so LOL. At least Sleet knows that the 3rd base is on the way, so Sleet can just drone really hard for a little while and get up to the point where he's actually caught up in economy. And this is something I like as well. I think the solution here is just going to be Swarm Host, because he knows that the only way he's going to be able to catch up in this game is to drag it out as long as possible. So we'll have to see if those Swarm Hosts wind up paying off. But against Colossus and against this big and huge of an open map as it is, I have to say that the Swarm Host probably wouldn't be as effective on, say, a smaller map, maybe a 4-player map, on the lines of I forget the other one's name, maybe Foxtrot Labs, is that its name, or the Octopus map. I'm just going to call it that because I don't know how to pronounce it. But either way, Phoenix in here being really irritating, killing a lot of Overlords. This is keeping Sleet having to continue to spend money on Overlords when he'd rather just make nothing but drones right now. So Grubby continuing to be even more annoying. And this is something I really like. Phoenix are amazing when you're ahead. They're decent if you're behind, but if you're ahead, they are incredibly good because they just continue to cement that lead in more and more irritating ways against the Zerg. So I really like that choice out of Grubby, just to go Phoenix and play this out normally. Swarm Host upgrade is on the way, like we were expecting. Pneumatized Carapace for Overlord speed to try and save those Overlords a little more is on the way as well. But there's a lot more Phoenix still rallying up here, and this 6 to 8 number is something I really like if you're ahead, because it gives you way more energy. You can kill Overlords and Queens faster. I like everything that Grubby has done so far, but part of that was because Sleet allowed him to get into this position. So we'll have to see where this goes from here. The Swarm Hosts have now started up, but Sleet's economy is just so in shambles right now that he can only get 1 Swarm Host out at a time. Like, there's only 3 in production right now at 12 minutes and only at 80 supply. That's pretty low. At this point, all Sleet has to do is turtle like he has never turtled before. Hope Grubby doesn't do anything super aggressive like multi-prong Warp Prism Warpins, and try to get back in the game that way. He's not going to get there by Roach Hydra or anything else. He's probably not going to get there by Mutalisks or catching him off guard or anything like that. It's going to mostly be trying to grind out a super long game and try to mess Grubby up in some way or another so that he can take this game. But Grubby has a firm hold on this right now. Still being really irritating with these Phoenixes. 2 more Stargates on the way. Did he actually lose a Phoenix to that Spore? That's kind of unfortunate. And if the Swarm Hosts are caught out, they could get killed. But there's just too many Spores here. Now Grubby knows what's going on. in terms of the Swarm Hosts for sure, since he saw them. He could pick up this Queen too. Yeah, he does. The 2 extra Stargates, though, is pretty big. He should actually, I think, take a 4th base right now. And look at that, there he is. He should take a 4th base right now because he's going to further cement his lead here, knowing that the Swarm Hosts are going to take forever to ever do anything. And the earlier you take bases against Swarm Hosts, the harder it's going to be for Zerg to break an entrenched position. If you're being contained by Swarm Hosts and you can't get the position to take your 4th base, and that's really bad. And I know it seems really early to take a 4th base at like 13:30, but this is absolutely the right call at this point. Grubby continuing to explore on the map. If you can catch one of these Swarm Hosts by lifting it up and killing it with the Void Ray, that would be really nice. But either way, knowing that there's pretty much nothing on the map that's going to be able to stop all this stuff, he's just moving out and trying to deny whatever he can, maybe even catch something that he shouldn't right now. Zergling's coming by, trying to see what's going on here. The 1 probe awkwardly kind of derping out these Zerglings right there. But there's no way he'll get a cancel on this. The Colossus range strong once again. 3 Void Rays at a time being produced out of Grubby. And at this point, all you have to do as Grubby to win this game is just sit there, keep maxing out on Void Ray Colossus until you're, well, I guess until you're maxed out, like I just said, and then just attack across the map, and there's really nothing that should be able to stop you right now. Secondarily, you could try for maybe knocking these rocks down, maybe using a Warp Prism to get into the main and try to pick them apart that way, but I think either way, he should be totally fine as far as winning this game is concerned. You do want to see him continue the Colossus production, though. You don't want to see him sit on maybe 4 or 5. If you're up to 6 with enough Void Ray protection, then you can pretty much kill whatever you want, especially if you're ahead in economy. Warp Prism speed is on the way, though, so Grubby is going to do the more, I guess, cute and less bludgeoning way of ending this game. So we'll see this develop as time goes on. Oh man, thanks again for all the support everyone's been giving for this. It's really been such a huge help to Kyle's family. I know they've appreciated as much as they can get throughout this it's really just an unfortunate time that is for Kyle right now, having to deal with completely changing your life around, having to recover from something like this. But back to the game, the Colossus are just kind of stomping around, killing whatever they want. You can notice that Grubby isn't even using the whole army because he doesn't need to. Time warping on top of the Locust here. I'm sorry my frame rate is dropping just a tad because of all the stuff that's going on the map right now, but the Corruptors are out right now. They're going to get fried up by the Void Rays, and like I said, he could just make stuff and attack across the map and he'd be totally fine at this rate. So he does just bludgeon him down, and this should just end the game here in just a moment. I think he does have an Observer to kill these Locusts. Actually, he doesn't. He's just relying on the Colossus Splash to kill them. So no big deal. Either way, the game's pretty much over by this point. If there's stuff standing on top of your Swarm Host and you can't stop your bases from dying, then it's basically game over. This Swarm Host should get fried right away from the Colossus. And it actually doesn't, so that's the luckiest Swarm Host ever. Yeah, I know the computer's slowing down the game. So yeah, sorry about the frame rate issues here, guys, but I don't think that these maps are fully tested out as far as what their frame rates are like with different certain scenarios, but either way, this, like I said, this is just going to end the game. All he needs to do is just rely on Observer, and he does have one now, so yeah, GG. Grubby takes game 2, and we yet again play a game 3. Alright guys, there are those little chat commands you can send down there if you want to get more information on the tournament. I know this is just kind of a long bit of information there on the left, but the whole idea is basically that we're raising money for the family of a friend of ours who has always supported StarCraft 2, and so far everything's gone really, really well. If you check out the link there, you can see how much has been raised on his behalf by his family, friends, and as well as the StarCraft 2 community, so check that out, and yeah. So yeah, we're just waiting for the map pick out of Sleet. We'll see what he says. This is best of 3, by the way, so this is the deciding match. The winner of this will move on to face RSVP in the finals, which will be a best of 5. He's asking about which maps are in the map pool right now. I wish I had not messed up the time zones for this event, because I submitted this a couple days ago, and I'm trying to get it on the sidebar of Team Liquid. So I submitted a couple days ago, and I put in Eastern European time, which is EEST, and I meant to enter in EST, and I was just flying through it, and I'm like, okay, perfect. And it got listed, and it was listed for like 5 a.m., and I'm like, that's not right. So, yeah, sorry to anybody that had a hard time getting here. I wish we could have gotten more attention to Kyle's cause, but fortunately I messed that up, and I didn't notice it in time to get it repaired. So, Sleet says merry-go-round. We'll go ahead and get that game started here. Now, of course, merry-go-round is an amazing Zerg map in PvZ especially, because Protoss, there's just no way they can hold a safe third base against any sort of reasonably aggressive timings. So far, I wouldn't say Sleet has really played poorly whatsoever. I think that he accidentally did some things that he shouldn't have that last game and didn't quite handle what he was supposed to. But, I mean, it's a new map. He didn't know that the cannon wash was really possible or how it would fit into the map that way. Grubby did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he took that game. So we're just getting into the game now. I'm waiting for the players to confirm that they are ready. Sleet says he's ready to go. As soon as we get Grubby in there, we'll get going. Water. Oh, okay. And he's propositioning me for hot chocolate. I don't know if that's asked for a date or if I just want to drink some. First one and the other. GG. You can too date your wife.
You can't. You need a girlfriend for that.
You get like way better odds of a successful date with your wife than with somebody random.
What's your idea of success?
Everybody knows what success is.
Consummation.
Yes, consummation. So, the match here is going to be between Grubby and Sleet. And Grubby spawning on the left side of merry-go-round, and the bottom side is Sleet. And this is game 3, so whoever wins this goes ahead and takes it. And we have seen some extremely unusual games in the first two, revolving around some varied aggression here from Grubby. In case you missed the first game, it was a 1-base 4-gate, which I have not seen in PvZ for eons upon eons. Grubby's rallying to his natural ramp, which means he's probably just going to gateway expand as soon as he gets the money. I always hate that awkward timing where you're waiting for a probe to return from a patch and it's just taking forever, and you're like, come on, do it, do it, do it, and then you finally drop the pylon, but it seems like 4 or 5 seconds late because the probes were just kind of messing around. But that's my life story. Anyway, moving on. So there's an interesting set of decisions here to be made for Sleet. Number one, how quickly does he get scouted? Does he drone scout? And it looks like so far he's not doing that. Secondly, does he maintain with the build that got him in a good place in the first game, which was 3 hatch before pool against a 4-gate, which seems silly, but actually worked out really well only because he took the gas immediately after his 3rd hatchery. And this time he decides, let me take a little bit earlier pool than normal. The last couple games I've seen him play PvZ, he actually goes pool on 15. This time was slightly earlier than that. Gas coming up here in the main as well here for Grubby, which is really normal off of Gateway Expand. This time I don't think we're going to see anything too weird out of Grubby, which, again, I have to temper that because the last time I've said that has totally not been true. But the Overlord's going to come out here and unfortunately scout in the right position. I almost said unfortunately, but that's not... I guess it depends on who you're rooting for, but either way. Wow. My throat is not being very happy right now. So, hatchery coming down here for Sleet, as we'd all expect. Zealot coming out here on the gateway, which, that's a fast Zealot. He's just chrono boosting it right now, and he's going to go... Okay, I was just going to say, I wonder if he's going to go Nexus before Core, which would be really weird, but no, he just goes ahead and drops the Core. But favoring the faster Zealot, just to try to dictate Sleet's larva spending just a little bit. And Sleet should know about this if he was watching his Overlord. But so far, there's really no inkling of anything... Okay, finally the 4 Zerglings get started. I was going to say, this is unusual that there's no Zerglings on the way. And Sleet says lol. I don't know what that's in reference to, so we'll have to see. Unless he's... I wonder if he's thinking, okay, this is another 1-base 4-gate again. Which, this is funny if Grubby has gotten him to think this once again. This is really funny if Grubby's convinced him of this. Because that's just something you don't ever see, and the fact that he would try it twice. Wait, what? I swear he had a probe down here to start this Nexus, and he just decided not to. And he favored the Mothership Core instead. So I was just going to say, It'd be really funny if he forced Sleet into thinking that he was going to 1-base 4-gate and then just did it again. So I don't know what that was all about, but this has been a little bit of an unusual build so far here out of Grubby. Mothership Core is going to come out in time to deal with these Zerglings, so that's all been fine. So these Zerglings really shouldn't do much. At least they will scout the Nexus at the very least. I guess the Overlord can see it from the other side anyway, but dropping a pylon here to prevent him from getting into the main. This will at least keep Sleet in the dark for a little longer, because Sleet might think, okay, this is a later Nexus, earlier Zealot, this is not a normal gateway expand, maybe you're hiding some tech back here. You can see this Overlord couldn't move fast enough to try to get into the base and see what's going on. And denying that scouting kind of throws weird signals to Sleet and makes him think, alright, well, if he's trying to stop me from scouting that hard, what is he hiding back here? And, of course, we know he's hiding nothing. Wind Park. Wind Park's actually the map creator, by the way. He's created a lot of the GSL maps, so I guess he puts his name on maps now. So, the Mothership Core is coming out here to scout. This is something we see a lot out of Puck. Just trying to get up here and figure out what's going on the Gateway Expand. And usually, the one thing I have to say kind of gives this away, unless you can scout a pylon. I was just going to say, one thing that gives this away is if the Mothership Core is kind of drifting around here and just kind of, you know, lumbering around, then you can say, well, there's probably not any attack coming in, so I should be fine. But in this case, Grubby is kind of showing a little bit of that by putting up a pylon, then canceling it, and then intentionally showing the probe to the hatchery here and then walking away. So there's so many weird mind games going on in this game right now, to the point where Grubby's just trying to out-mind game him and get into a better position. Unless these are all just coincidental and I'm just totally reading into this way too much, but it could be possible. Forge on the way now. I don't know where this is supposed to lead, but yeah, I guess the faster forge, maybe an earlier third base, but like I said, third bases on this map are not really a thing. I would think if you were going to see something like Blink, it would be a faster timing off of a Gateway expansion. You would have already seen the Twilight Council down by now. There's no Robo, no Stargate, just a forge, sentries. On any other map, I would say this is just a third base, but third bases on this map are like not really a thing, so I don't know what to say about that. Grubby just kind of pooling up a couple of Zealots over here. I wonder if this Overlord has actually seen anything, which I will check as soon as I put my water down. And he has not seen anything, so this is weird. Robo coming up now. A really late Immortal all-in? I mean, there's so many weird signals being shown here. I honestly can't even decipher where this build is supposed to be going, because it just doesn't follow any sort of pattern of normal builds along this line. The Immortal all-in is the most likely thing, but I usually would say no to that because the Robo is so late. But the Zealot's kind of nailing down the hatchery here. There's no units on the field right now, so I think Grubby could actually just get this hatchery and recall, even at the expense of losing a Zealot or two because our Roach comes out. So even one Zealot assigns some drones, so Grubby being very irritating here. He does just cancel the third base, so through all these weird little tricks and mind games, Grubby convinced Sleet into something that was not so, and Grubby doesn't want to lose a Mothership Core. He just chucks down Times Warps and loses it, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, here comes Immortals right now. So this is what you have to wonder. You have to wonder if an Immortal all-in is viable right now. You have to wonder if just taking a third base would be viable now, because he's able to stop the third of Sleet. It's effectively 2 base versus 2 base, and you would think that if the Immortal all-in is supposed to work, then holding a third with the same amount of units and less production from the Zerg should work as well. So honestly, based upon the way this game is going, I would expect a third, and there's a probe moving out there right now, which I don't know what that's for. Maybe it's just for an extra pylon or something, but the third actually, oddly, makes a lot more sense in this situation than any other on this map. There's a lot of Roaches out right now, but I still think this is just going to be a straight-up Immortal all-in. Nothing else really adds up right now. Is he going to make a third Immortal, or just 2? Yeah, but he is supply block just for a second. Extra gateways coming up right now. The Spire's on the way as well, so maybe trying to switch into some Spire play, which would be a really good response against the third base. But the fact this is Immortal all-in, the Spire probably won't get out in time enough to matter. Sleet's kind of just asleep at the wheel here, kind of letting his Roaches get a pretty decent attacks here from the force fields, but still, pretty good surrounds. I'd say that trade actually went pretty well for Sleet, all things considered, but the Immortals are still alive, and the fact that the production is pretty much equal, considering the lack of mining on a third base this entire time, means that force fields are not as necessary to make this push work. But there's still obviously very useful, so we'll have to see if that's what comes up. Grubby has sensed, or maybe scouted, the Spire coming up, and he throws up extra cannons in his main. Did he actually see that? Yeah, he did. Okay. I was going to say, that's some weird game sense out of Grubby if he just threw that up out of nowhere. But everything coming in here right now, going to try and focus down the Overlord for the time being, try to bug Sleet as much as possible. He is supply blocked right now, but there are mutas on the field, so this push is definitely on the clock right now. This huge surface area right here definitely favors Zerg, but if Grubby can find a way to finagle his way up to the top of this ramp, he'll be in good shape. But the big surround here, still really good force fields out of Grubby to try and limit it as much as possible. You can see all these units over here are basically just walking around not doing anything. Queens are not participating, there are now Mutalisks out, and now all of a sudden the Stalkers are almost more valuable than the Immortals. So the Stalkers and Immortals doing really well. I think Grubby has actually done this. I don't think that Muta production is ever going to hold this off unless he gets a 6 round with Zerglings, which he very well may. So this Zergling round is going to determine this game. Sleet should not be losing any Mutalisks right now, which he unfortunately was. So the Zerglings coming in right now, filing in one at a time, and that's not what you want to do with this. You want to attack all together. Sleet says GG, and Grubby moves on to the finals for a PvP against RSVP for that $100. So, we'll start Grubby and RSVP here in just a second. Let me just take a small little break to kind of stretch out, get us something to drink and whatnot. I'll be back in just a little bit. Let me put on some music and we'll get going.